Superboy Allan is the third game that I'm looking at in Sunsoft's educational game series. My feeling about the previous two was that Aiden no Tsue was reasonably thoughtful as an educational game, but the gameplay had some real problems. Chite Tairik Ordola, which was released on the same day as Superboy Allan, was a total disaster. Almost unplayable action, and educational content that was especially shallow. And here's Superboy Allan. He's here to teach you fractions and looks suspiciously familiar. I think it's the best of the three, but that is a super low bar. As with the other two games in this series, there are actually two games on the disc. One side with the titular game, Superboy Allan, and the other side with Step Drill, which is just a series of math problems presented as a massive race around the entire United States. There are 40 lessons of 5 questions each, and if you get all of the answers correct in a lesson, then you get to skip the next one. You always start entering your answer with the denominator, and you hit B to switch to the numerator. Okay, that's the uninteresting one. Let's look at Superboy Allan itself. In Superboy Allan, your sister is very sick. Fortunately, you're the strongest boy in the world, and you should be able to go get the magic herb that will heal her. Except the way is blocked by math problems. Every room in Superboy Allan has a bunch of monsters roaming around it, a math problem featuring fractions in the lower left, and a jumbled up screen where it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. The round drum-like things are logs that have been cut into slices. Some of these will have numbers or symbols on them, and the important one is the one that has the question mark in an arrow. Your goal is to get the answer to that problem positioned so that the arrow is pointing at it. To do that, you can shove the logs around the screen, but the logs can only roll in the direction that they're round. But if you walk up to a log and you can't roll it, then if you hit the B button, you'll spin it to face you. Or I guess that's not really facing you, since facing you would be the broad side. You're rotating it so you can roll it. After that, you can push that log around. If you've got a bunch of logs lined up, then you can shove all of them at once. Or at least up to the number of your strength, which is in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. It's possible to squish a monster with a log, though that's usually not an efficient way to do it. You can also kick logs by hitting the A button as it starts moving, and that will send it sliding as far as it can go. If you can get the correct answer lined up with that question mark, then all the monsters on the screen go away, and the question mark becomes an item. There's various foods that will restore your strength, rope, which is the most vital item that you can have, and I'll explain it in a moment, and once you've collected certain power-ups, there are axes that will let you clear paths. Something you might have already noticed is that most of the exits are already clear. There is nothing requiring that you solve that math problem. You can just advance to the next screen. In fact, if you go into the game's dungeons, there's no math problems at all. Solving math problems just gets you reusable resources, and if you do enough math problems, then you'll increase your strength, letting you push a longer line of logs. You will have to get your strength up to 10 to open a path to the end of the game, though. Something useful for this is that if you leave and re-enter a screen, the math problem refreshes. So if you find an easy screen, then you can always repeat it as much as you need to. Something that you'll notice very quickly as you play is that getting through many rooms and solving many of those math problems is impossible. The logs can't be moved by pushing them into a position that will let you through. To deal with this, you have rope. Walk up to a log when it's facing the appropriate direction, hold down B and move back. You'll pull the log one square, and it will cost you 1 rope. This reliance on rope, and how finite it is, means that it is very possible to get stuck in Superboy Allan. In that event, you can press select to bring up a menu. There's 3 options here: return to the game, get a hint, and restart, which will teleport you back to the starting room of the game with all of your resources intact. Something that you can find on certain screens is a star that will make you invincible until you leave that screen. This item is always hidden underneath a log that you have to push. But once you have it, then you don't have to worry about getting beaten up. If you do get killed by the monsters, well, then you can save your progress, though when you start up again, you're always in the first room of the game. Looking at Superboy Allan and the rest of Sunsoft's educational line, I get the distinct impression that these were games that Sunsoft was developing where they might have felt that they weren't quite strong enough to stand on their own, and so math problems were bolted onto them. With Superboy Allan, it feels like a puzzle game was being developed, something very Sokobone-like, because just applying the numbers to the logs and having one log be the indicator for the solution is a really messy interface when it comes to puzzle design. I did notice that the solution is often in the exact same place for these screens, so there is some slight consideration, though it's not especially helpful, particularly once the monsters get the ability to push the logs around themselves. The puzzles here aren't really fair, and they're not especially deep or interesting. But that said, they are logic puzzles. From a gameplay standpoint, Superboy Allan gives its players 2 educational tasks. Superboy Allan seems to only be remembered for one thing in Japan, and that's how it came with a 150-page comic. It tells the story of a kingdom where fractions came to life and attacked people, along with vegetables. That's the only thing I could find people mentioning about it. Like most educational games, it seems like Superboy Allan was not especially popular with kids. In this case, I feel like Superboy Allan is let down by the puzzle design, or rather, the lack of puzzle design. There's too many random elements here, and some of the rooms are just so cluttered up that you really don't have the opportunity to think them through. You just have to go, okay, I can't push that anywhere, can't move that free, well, time to break out the rope. Solving math problems in exchange for power-ups is actually a pretty good idea. That's an aspect of Superboy Allan that I think works. But the rest of this, well, it's just gonna make you wish you were playing the game it was clearly copied from instead.